Section 0 of Pascendi Dominici Gregis on the Errors of the Modernists. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Algy Pug. Pascendi Dominici Gregis on the Errors of the Modernists by Pope St. Pius X. Translated by Thomas E. Judge. Introduction. A deplorable and dishonourable tendency, common enough in every age of the history of Christianity, but especially conspicuous at the present hour, leads certain minds to avow loudly their allegiance to the Catholic Church, and to parade their professions of loyalty to her institutions, in order that they may the more effectively rend her unity by heresy and schism. They may not all be equally conscious of the drift of their agitation, or of the depth and dangers of their treason. Carried away by their enthusiasm for mistaken methods of reform, held in bondage by their subserviency to false systems of philosophy, viewing history and institutions in the warm glow of sentiment and emotion instead of in the cold white light of intelligence, they are tossed about by every wind of doctrine, after having cast to the waves the guidance of reason, authority, and tradition. Their books and pamphlets are generally written in a captivating style, because most of their statements derive substance, form, and colour from incandescent imaginations, and are confessedly exempted from conforming to the laws either of inductive or deductive logic. It has been well said that while God in the beginning created men in his image, men now create him in their image. The Modernists' conception of him, his attributes, and our relations to him are a factitious product, a sort of stromata, to borrow the title of one of Clement of Alexandria's works, formed out of the most heterogeneous philosophical theories. The idea of contingency associated with the name of Monsieur Boutreau, Herbert Spencer's relativity, Newman's principle of development, Loisier's kenotic hypothesis, the pragmatism of Professor James, and Blondel's philosophy of action are blended together in a manner that recalls the ingredients of the cauldron by which the witches foretold the fortunes of Macbeth in the cave on the blasted heath. But the unifying, controlling, and organising principle of their system is to be sought in Kant's teaching concerning the limitations of our reason and the authority of conscience. The following passage, written more than 4 years ago by the Reverend William Turner, S.T.D., in his History of Philosophy, exactly describes the dependence of modernism on the critical philosophy of Immanuel Kant. Kant's influence on the development of thought in the 19th century can hardly be overestimated. This philosophy is, as it were, the watershed from which streams of thought flow down in various courses into modern idealism, agnosticism, and even materialism. To this source may also be traced some of the most noteworthy currents of contemporary religious thought, especially the movement toward non-dogmatic Christianity. For it is not difficult to see in Kant's assertion of the supremacy of the moral law the origin of the tendency to regard Christianity more as a system of ethics and less as a system of dogmatic truth. No other German, not even Goethe, has exercised such influence at home and abroad on the current of religious and metaphysical speculation since the publication of his 3 famous critiques of pure reason, of practical reason, and of judgment as the Sage of Königsberg. Endeavouring to reconcile the scepticism or pan-phenomenalism of Hume, who held that we know nothing except phenomena or our own feelings and states of consciousness, with the dogmatism of Wolff and Leibniz, who taught that there are necessary and immutable elements in our knowledge which transcend our subjective experience, he distinguished between the content and the forms of knowledge. The former he derives from objects which are otherwise declared
Sample complete. Ready to continue?